What a gorgeous car. I love it. It's a 1960s MGA as driven by Elvis Presley, but in this case as driven by my brother-in-law, who is not Elvis. So in a previous film I showed you how I would sketch it in pen and wash, but what happens if you've got 5 minutes before it's just about to drive away? Well, I'm going to show you how I'd sketch it using a water-soluble pen. My name's Liz Chatterton. I'm a watercolour artist based in Berkshire. Every week I share a tip or trick that I wish I'd known about ages ago. And this week it's sketching from life in a hurry.
If you're in a hurry, you need to decide on your tools that are going to help you. So these water-soluble pens have got a brush at one end and a bullet point at the other. If you choose a sort of mid-grey like this, if you have time to paint or work on top of it, the grey will just disappear. Whereas if you don't, then you can always strengthen it after the car has driven off or whatever. They are water soluble, so painting with watercolour over the top, they will go and not be there. And it's a lot better than trying to draw with a pencil, because the temptation with a pencil is to use an eraser. You have not got time. So look how I'm holding the pen. It's quite far up the barrel and I'm trying to hold it pretty loosely, and that gives me a lot of fast movement with the pen. What I'm doing, I started with that grill and I'm measuring absolutely everything by eye relative to it. So if the grill is there, I know that the far headlight is to the left, and then I can look at the angle between the far headlight and say the near headlight. It's at a slight angle, that gives a bit of perspective. By having the grill in place, I can see how where the bumper goes and all those sorts of things. So it basically acts as a large hook to hang everything else on. Now this is obviously a car, but if you were doing the same with a row of houses, you would choose maybe one house in a terrace to hang everything on, or the front door of a house to hang everything on. And you can just measure everything relative to that. Look at vertical and horizontal lines to see what's on a level and what's above or below a line, and that can help get you in the right place. I say we just don't have time for super accurate measuring. We can't be holding our pen in front of us and squinting an eye. We've just got to get this down, because this car is about to drive away into the distance. If you make a mistake, don't panic about it, just put the right line in and our eyes will see those right lines and we will prioritise them. It's something to do with our brain, it just works that way. Look for flowing lines and big shapes. Don't get too hung up on little details until you've got all the big shapes in. Really, you're talking about prioritising information at this point. There's no point having a beautifully drawn indicator if you haven't got four wheels on your car and the car drives off. So just aim for big shapes and the most important things first, and then go back if you've got time to put in smaller details. Prioritize the things that you don't think you'll actually be able to remember, because then, say, if the car's gone, you've still got all the information that you need to carry on with your painting. Do be critical as well and just keep checking backwards and forwards that you haven't made a false assumption or you haven't missed out something crucial. It can be terribly easy just not to see stuff when you're looking at a subject, especially if you're under time pressure. You can end up missing all sorts of things out, but I don't think I have here. So because I'm at the end, I'm just going to put in a little bit of detail. I've noticed that there's sort of stripes on those headlights, so I'm going to get those in, and then I'm also going to get just the stripes of the grill in so that I've got the right direction and know what's going on there. I can get a little bit more detail like the badge, just to make sure I know where that's placed, and maybe a few of the holes on the hubcaps as well. I'm just noticing the bonnet, which has got a beautiful curve to it, so I definitely want that in before this car goes. Oh, and I've decided to put in the number plate as well, because that always brings a car to life, doesn't it? It's like naming your dog or cat, terribly important. We must be up to about 5 minutes now, so really I know I've only got a few seconds to put in a few final details, and I did like those sort of circular holes around the hubcap, so I wanted to make sure I got those in. Now, if you have got time, you can just refine any lines you're a bit concerned about, which particularly curves can be tricky, so it's worth just going back and checking a few of those if you've got time. You might also, as I'm doing here, want to just put in any particular tonal lines. They're not actually contours, they're just lines between dark and light tone, which might be important, and they give a real shape to the car here, so that's why I'm putting them in. If you'd like to see how I would carry on with this car in pen and wash, please look at my other film and that will give you some ideas. And if not, in those 5-6 minutes we've caught enough information that we could go away and paint this back in our studio.